We're here for housing referrals, mostly through the phone, but this will work for walk-ins as well. And what we want to remember, we are, as we grow, as we develop contracts that have specific requirements, we don't want that to be a burden for getting somebody into housing. Okay? And so in thinking of the referral into collaborative housing, we want this to be the last phone call somebody will have to make about housing. The goal is to get them connected to housing immediately on that call. So one of the things that means is that before that call comes in, we're monitoring everything else, right? So that we're using Buildium so that we know which houses have current vacancies. Because if we use Buildium, then when we look at what's the listing called?
Listing site.
Listing, when we go to the listing site, we're only going to get vacancies. That way, we're going to be able to connect with homeowners that are looking for somebody to move in. That's going to make that call a lot faster, and from a customer service perspective, that's going to be a much better experience for the person who's calling about housing. Okay, so that's one thing. So make sure you're using the open listing function in Buildium when you're making referrals. And the other thing is, like all of our opportunities to connect with people, the first thing we want to do is welcome the person, right? Think of, this is again how we want somebody, whenever they interact with Share for the first time, we are the greeter, we are the welcomer. What we do is to communicate a sense of hope, a sense of gratitude. We want them to know that we're on their side, we're working for them. So I'm so glad you called about our housing program. It's a great program. Anybody who has income can get into housing right now. Today, when I opened up my housing report this morning, there were 51 vacancies. So if you have income and the income needs to be at least $700, if you've got $700 every month, I can get you into housing right now. And I also want to connect you to self-help support groups on this call, because we find that when we connect people to self-help support groups in this housing, they're much happier, they achieve their goals faster. And one of the things that Share does is track 12,000 self-help support groups that deal with over 750 different life issues. So anything that's going on in your life, or anybody you know, there is a group of people who are also going through that issue. And all of the research shows that when people with any issue are around other people that have that issue, they make more money, they're happier, they get hospitalized less often, they stay in the hospital fewer days when they are hospitalized, on and on and on. So one of the meetings that I'm going to refer you to for sure sounds really scary, but it totally changed my life. When I was going through a divorce, I didn't think I could make it through any day, but I got to Codependence Anonymous, and I learned how to have a happy relationship with myself, coworkers, friends, family. And so I'm going to move you into a house. You're going to meet other roommates. I want you to have a place where you can talk about what's going on there and get support from other people, so that when you deal with those issues with your roommates, you have some really healthy tools and ways to communicate about that, and you have some support for it. So I'm going to do that. While I'm looking for housing, think about anything else that you might want, what your goals are. The other thing I'm going to do when you move into housing is I'm going to connect you to, we call it our 5-year success plan. So we connect people to a way of planning for and achieving their dreams and their goals. So the idea is, if you're successful, what does life look like 5 years from now? If your wildest dreams come true, what does life look like? And then we work backwards so I can support you, or another peer bridger can support you in connecting to the resources that are going to support your attaining all of those goals. Because if I know a little bit about that, then I'm going to connect you to the self-help support groups that are going to, where there are other people who have already achieved those goals, and they're going to have resources for you. So first of all, do you have money? Most of our people have SSI or other income. It can be from employment or from family support. Do you think you're able to afford $350 to $550 a month?
Yes.
Great. Okay. And is that income through SSI or employment? I ask only because, and please understand, if I ask questions, it's only because that's going to help me in the conversation with our owners. If I can tell our homeowner, this person gets Social Security income, this is the amount of their check, and the check comes on the 1st, they know that that money's going to be there every month, and they're going to want to meet you. Okay? So is it SSI?
Yes, it's SSI.
Okay, great. And what's the amount of the monthly payment?
$850.
$850. Okay. So where do you want to live?
Long Beach.
Long Beach. All right. So I'm going to start in Long Beach. Our vacancies, they go fast, but we always have some vacancies. So I'm going to look for houses in Long Beach, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to put you on hold. When I find an owner, I'm going to call that owner, and then I'm going to do a conference call so that the three of us can talk. I'll introduce you to the owner. A lot of times, you can, and I can support you in making an appointment with the owner so you can look at the place, but you can get to know the owner. He or she can tell you about the house, and we can go from there. Does that sound good?
Yes.
Okay, hold on just a second. All right. And so, Percy, how you doing? Who wants to be Percy? Anybody want to be Percy?
Who can
I'll
be
be Percy.
Okay. Percy, hey.
Hey, Jason, how are you doing?
It's going. I'm doing good. Thank you, by the way, for using Buildium. It looks like you're putting in your vacancies all the time. So I saw that you have some vacancies. You have 2 vacancies right now. Is that still accurate?
Yep.
Well, I think I have somebody that wants to move in. They get SSI. They get paid on the 1st, and they're looking for a place. Can I introduce you and do a conference call?
Yeah, but first, can you tell me anything else about them? Are they taking meds?
I didn't ask any of that. They sound, from what I've talked to them about going to self-help support groups. They're willing to go to self-help support groups. They get payment through SSI. So they sound like, and they got a referral from a mental health provider where they're engaged in services. So
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, I'd love to.
All right, so, and then we do the conference call, okay? So what I want to know at this point in the training is what kinds of things come up during your conference calls with owners that you don't know how to address. We don't ask their diagnoses, okay? I let them disclose to me what their diagnosis is, because making somebody give me a diagnosis feels really intrusive, okay? And what I do know is that in the US, 30% of people diagnosed with schizophrenia will never have another experience and will never have another psychic break or psychotic break after 2 years. So 1/3 of the people in the US, schizophrenia only lasts 2 years. And globally, developing countries, that's 63% of people. So even if they are, we often get referrals from mental health clinics, from other social service agencies, and people, we're going to make sure we've got peer bridging with your house. So I'm going to make sure that that person's connected to their goals, going to self-help support groups, and if they have a mental health provider, I'm going to help them work toward their goal. Okay? So that's how I answer that question. Because it's, homeowners do want to know, and I need to pay attention to that, because if the vacancies that come up, if there are 3 vacancies and one is somebody that's going to ask me that question, and I know it's somebody who is, who walked into Share Culver City talking to people that nobody else saw, I'm not going to call that owner first. I'm going to call the other 2 owners first. I might call that owner as a backup, right? If I've developed a relationship with that person, if I think that this is gonna be doable. But our goal is to get the person connected to housing. And the way that we do that is through building this trusting relationship. So what are the things that I did in that phone call that helped achieve those goals?
You disclosed.
I disclosed.
You talked about your own experience going to CODA and how hard it was when you were going through a divorce.
Okay.
So that lowered your authority and made you more connected to the caller.
Yeah.
You also kind of prepare them to what your plan was.
Mhm.
Like you gave them heads up, like, I'm gonna call the homeowner. You kind of walk them through the path of
Right.
what that's gonna look like.
Right.
So they're
You
aware.
explained to them why you were asking them what their income was.
Right.
And you explained to them what the 5-year goal success plan is, so they started thinking about their goals.
Right. Because a lot of times people are looking for housing, and that's no. All I need is housing.
Yeah.
Great, and that's great. We're gonna connect people to housing. Our concept of what this is, what we are connecting people to, is more than housing. We're connecting people to the life they really want to be living. So if I get them thinking a little bit about what that looks like, then there isn't this idea that as soon as I have housing, everything's going to be fine.
It also gives them hope.
It gives them hope. This is a great opportunity.
Something else you did is also is that you checked in with the homeowner. You asked the homeowner how he's doing.
Mhm.
It wasn't just business.
Right.
You were human to him, and
Right.
you treated him as a peer.
Right. And it is a business relationship, but in all of our relationships, we're looking to bring ourselves closer together with every interaction. So when the person calls looking for housing, that's what I'm trying to do. I'm not seeing them as a referral. I'm really trying to build a relationship. And I'm thinking of what the relationship's going to be long term. Now, the other thing that's going to happen when it's an actual phone call is when I start to talk about what the process is, they might have some input. I just want to do this. I just want to do that. And when I get that, I can validate the person's feelings. I can validate what they want, and I can help them see that what I'm doing is meeting their goals. All right, like the reason, if I can tell the owner what the source of income is, right? But this is not the kind of program where up front we're going to have people do a 40-page lease agreement to see if they qualify.
Mm-hmm.
We're gonna give them the VI SPDAT after, okay? But our goal is to get them into housing. And the thing that happens is if I move the person into housing, if I connect, so I connect the person to Percy, and let's say they want to move in. So they're going to move in. Great. Okay, Percy, thank you so much. And you have transportation to get to Long Beach. Is that going to be okay? I want to make sure that all the details are filled in, right? It's not just, okay, I'll be there Saturday. Great. How are you going to be there? Percy, are you going to be around? Right? I want, because there are barriers to that. So if I walk people through a little bit with some specificity about how they're going to get there, what time they're going to get there, in a way that's not too intrusive, where I don't sound like an authority, I can ask those questions and minimize my own authority. Just because I want to make sure it happens. This is great, we've got a homeowner, I want to make sure that you two are able to connect. So, and I want you both to know, I'm going to give you my phone number, and Percy, you have my phone number. If anything happens, please let me know. We'll reconnect and we can, change the time or something like that. So I'm not seeing the phone call as the only thing, right? Because at this point, it's beyond a phone call. At this point, this is about the person moving in. How is the person going to get to Percy's? What's going to happen? It's my responsibility to plan for all of that. This is a house where we have peer bridging, so they're going to get connected to peer bridging. So I might get Percy off the line, and I want to say, I'm so happy. This is great. Do you have any questions, right? And they're going to be relieved, right? They've got housing now. This is huge, and this is different than 95% of the experiences they have in housing at all. And I say 95% just on the off chance that they've been in one of our houses before. Okay, because that's the only place they're going to make a phone call and say, yeah, I'm trying to get into housing, and they're going to get connected to housing on the same phone call. This is the only place where that's ever going to happen. Okay, so once they're connected to housing, the capital in the bank I have with them is huge, right? Because we've just together achieved the impossible. I'm so glad. I really want to make sure this works out for you. So I talked about the 5-year success sheet earlier. You're gonna, when you move into Percy's, the peer bridger for that house is blank. Who's the peer bridger for Percy's? Tony, who's not here. Tony's the peer bridger for Percy. She's out in the field right now. If she were here, I would put you on the phone with her and introduce you to her, because if I can do that, right? If I can do that, that's huge. That person's connected to their peer bridger who's going to visit them, and the peer bridger can say, yeah, I'm planning on being in that house on this day. People are successful when they have strong relationships. Okay? So any opportunity I can do to strengthen that relationship and that connection while I've got them on the phone is going to be critical to making sure that they stay connected to us. So if possible, I'm going to say, hey, let me have you talk to Tony. She's the peer bridger for the house. I can introduce Tony, right? Tony's going to bring, when she comes in, she's going to bring a welcome packet. It's going to talk about self-help support groups. She's going to have the 5-year success sheet, right? I'm giving the person what's going to come next so that they can prepare for it, so that they can ask any questions.
And Maria always does something I think that's really good at the end of the call. She'll say, I'm not going to be there when you get there. You're my eyes and ears. Can you call me back and let me know what happened, how you like the house, and
Absolutely.
everything? And that way it opens the door where they're like, oh, I went to see the house and I didn't like the neighborhood, or I really liked it, or whatever the feedback is. So
Right.
that way we can update, and if the person doesn't move in, probably move them somewhere else.
Right. So, and remember, when we refer somebody to a self-help support group, what's the thing that we say at the end of the referral?
And if this doesn't work out,
If it
please
doesn't
call
work
us
out,
back
call
and
us
we'll find
back, we'll
some
get you
other
to another group. And our housing program is a self-help support group.
Right.
Okay? This is a self-help support group referral you're making. So you have to do all of the same things. You have to use disclosure. You have to connect people to the groups. Remember the Stanford model, where when the professional gives the person seeking a self-help support group a referral that only has a phone number on it, the person goes 0% of the time. But when the professional gives them that number and then hands them the phone and they speak to somebody in that group, they go 100% of the time. So because you're using disclosing about self-help support groups, because you're talking about collaborative housing, because you're introducing people to the owner, that increases the likelihood that they're actually going to get there and be connected. Okay? And we're going to let them know at the end of the call, okay, you're going to go there. I'm so excited. Please let me know how it goes. I want to, when you see the house, I want you to call back, let me know how it is, and we'll go from there. Does that sound good? Okay. So, yeah.
Another challenge is when you have someone who is talking a lot, and you just, like, what do you suggest for someone to be able to cut that call in a loving way?
Okay. So,
the phone is ringing in the background.
Are they talking? Are they talking after they've been connected to housing, or
They're
during the
just
process?
talking about everything that's going, whatever there is.
So I repeat back something that they've said. Oh, that's great. The airplanes are really busy in Culver City now. Okay, yeah, I understand. We have a lot of people like that, and they really don't want to be in Culver City. That's why I'm trying to get you to this house in Torrance. So I repeat what they say, I validate it, and I take it in a different direction.
So if they have a lot of objections,
Mm-hmm.
that's what you're talking about, like,
I
Well,
don't.
I
I was talking about. I was talking about somebody
Redirect
that's
the
just kind of
call.
talking.
Oh,
Or
okay.
redirect the call.
but if somebody is like negative and they're,
Well,
you
I
know,
don't
because,
like that neighborhood, or,
because, you know, we get people that call and they're, like, they're miserable.
Yeah.
And they don't know what to do and they're scared, and they become very difficult
Mm.
on the call.
Mm-hmm. So that's really great, because one of the things I'm going to do is I'm going to own the problem. I'm the one who's having difficulty. Okay, I'm the one that's having difficulty because I'm trying to connect them to housing, and I'm not having success. I'm trying to connect them to this thing that I think is really great, and they don't see it as great. So when I own that problem, I can then hear that a little bit differently, because if you don't like that neighborhood, that's fine. That is okay. I'm connecting you to a house that is really close to public transportation. You've told me that you like to get to here, here, and here. We've got bus lines. The other residents in the map use the bus system there. They're really familiar with it, so you're going to have support in where you're able to go. You say you don't like the neighborhood. I understand. I was really scared when I moved from West Hollywood to South Central, but I had no idea. It took me 5 years, literally 5 years, to get to know my neighbors in West Hollywood. I am not joking. 5 years. It wasn't until I had little puppies that I was walking down up the street that people actually talked to me. But when I moved to South Central, the day I moved in, everybody was knocking on my door. Hey, how you doing? Welcome. Okay? So I totally understand how that works. And if this doesn't work for you at any time, we're going to be right there. If you don't like this house, we're going to work with the owner. They're going to prorate the month-to-month rental agreement. They're going to refund the portion of the rent that you didn't stay in, and we can move you to a different house. Right now, because you're so scared, as you've told me, and you don't know what to do, my goal is to get you connected immediately. And this is a house that I've had a lot of success with. I know the owner's fair. I know that the residents have a community of recovery where they support each other. So this is a house I feel really strong about. If you still have objections, that's fine. I want to know about them. And if you try it, then together we're going to know specifically what's going on. If you don't want to try, I totally understand. I can keep looking. My concern is that our vacancies fill up pretty quickly, and if I don't want you to stay on the streets longer than necessary, because as I hear you and talk to you, I feel myself getting stressed out, because I've been there, and that's awful. I'm really sorry so part of me is rescuing right now. I just want this to end for you. And I apologize. I don't, it's not my job to control or anything like that, but,
See, I automatically felt, okay, he's validating how I'm feeling.
He's on my side.
He's on my side, he understands, he's not,
Right. So part of this is joining the person. This is the tool. We join the person in their objective. It is scary. The thought of living with somebody else that I don't know, that's a little bit scary. When I got into recovery, I moved in with a bunch of people and they were a wreck. But I found out that after like a week or so, I was more of a wreck. Because the first thing I did when I moved in was steal everybody's cigarettes. All right? And everybody hated me, right? But what I saw was that with all of those people around, there was always somebody that I could talk to about something. And that's what I needed. Because without that, I was totally alone. I was driving myself crazy because I couldn't interact with other people. I was always alone. I was always in my thoughts, and my thoughts, like, it's like a tinderbox. They catch fire and then they explode, and then they make everything else explode. So when I have people around that I can talk to, it makes that better. And you're going to have, everybody in the houses that we have, relationships change. People change and grow, and that's really cool, and sometimes that's scary. So you're going to be in a house, and sometimes you're going to have a great relationship with one person, and then, they're going to be in a bad relationship, and they're going to take it out on everybody else in the house, right? Because they're going to have a bad date or something. And so my relationship with somebody else is going to be stronger. And understanding that that's how it works. And the other thing that is just totally helpful for me is where I'm connected to self-help support groups. So no matter what happens outside of my groups, I've always got my group to go to and talk to. And when stuff happens at the house, I can call somebody else. I can, you're going to have a peer bridger that you can talk to as you start going to meetings. In meetings, they pass around what they call a phone list. And everybody in that meeting puts their phone number on the phone list. And if you don't want, you don't have to put your number on the phone list. You don't have to have people call you. You can just get a copy of the phone list and call the other people until everything becomes safe and you're in a place where you want people to call you too. So when I join with what the person's fear is, what their experience is, then I bring the imagination part of it down. And I don't have to change it.
So what do we do with a person that, for whatever reason, isn't a good fit for the program? Like, for example, they don't have any money, but they keep calling and insisting that we put them in housing, and they're angry that we haven't housed them and they don't have any money.
I'm sorry, we're really not able to house people that don't have an income. So that's really hard. If you can come to Share Downtown or Share Culver City, and if you do the Volunteer to Job program, 30% of people in the Volunteer to Job program get employment after 90 days. So if you're able to get some employment, then you've got income you can pay for housing. That would be great. If you come to Culver City or downtown, whichever is easier for you, that's something you can do right now. Our owners aren't going to take in anybody that doesn't have an income.